from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Welcome, everybody, to Talking Catholic, the official podcast of the Catholic community of South Jersey. I'm Pete Sanchez. Here it is Thanksgiving week. It's about 48 hours before Turkey Day. I'm here with Mike Walsh. Mike, how are you?
I'm well, sir. This is a impromptu podcast, so we really very much have to thank our guests for pitching in. We were supposed to record with someone else yesterday, and at the last second I had to cancel that recording because I was inundated with conflicts. So we will be bringing that person back on in the upcoming weeks for a very interesting and podcast on a subject that hasn't really been talked about in about 40 years. So I think you'll all find it very interesting. But we will take care of that at a different time. But right now we're actually not in the vault. We have a crowd so huge with us today that we're actually in my conference room outside my office, and we're very much looking forward to talking with everyone. But Pete, what do we have coming up?
Well, we've promoted this, and very exciting news, Mike. We just dropped an announcement of we have the 100th episode of Talking Catholic coming up at Friday, December 14th at the Collegium Center for Faith and Culture in Haddon Heights, New Jersey. And we just announced on our social medias that the Franciscan Sisters of the Renewal will be joining us. Exciting news.
That's right.
I will see them Thanksgiving Day.
Yep. And
they're just, I cannot wait to see them then again on December 14th.
We don't know which of the CFRs are going to be with us. It could be 2, it could be 4. So it'll be we're playing CFR roulette. We'll see what we'll see what shows up.
Yeah, we have the 4 of them on the wheel.
That's right.
Just, okay,
well, it'll definitely be 2. So
it will be 2.
Yeah,
so that's exciting. Along with Father Rob Sinatra, kind of the third wheel here. Mm-hmm. The third co-host. So it's exciting. So come on out. You're all invited. It's free. A live recording. There will be live music, food, drink, fun, audience participation. And also we're going to be announcing more special guests in the coming weeks. Again, Friday, December 14th, 7 to 10 p.m. And you can go to Eventbrite. Registration is required, even though it's free, just so we know what food and drink we're going to get. And again,
and I'm happy to report we already have we have a total on our heads of how many people we'd like to be there, and I've already gotten confirmation that we're a third of the way there. So definitely
Wonderful.
Make sure you register for it, and then show up. Don't just register.
Exactly. Come on out December 14th at the Collegium Center for Faith and Culture, 301 White Horse Pike in Haddon Heights, New Jersey, or call me. Any questions, 856-583-6155. And speaking of the Franciscan Sisters of the Renewal, Bishop Sullivan will be there along with them on Friday, November 30th for the 10 a.m. Mass at St. Nicholas of Tollington Church, 1409 Pacific Avenue in Atlantic City for the Father Benedict House dedication Mass and blessing by Bishop Sullivan, open to all ages, and angels too.
Yeah, I believe angels are invited. Yes, that's true.
And the Father Benedict House, what they do, I'll actually be there again Thanksgiving. Every week, twice a week, they serve the needy in Atlantic City. They serve them food, and they just come in and get, especially during this time, they get warm. So, it's cold out there, and I think Thanksgiving this year's record cold for this area. It's going to be in the 20s. So
yes.
Stay safe out there.
My kind of weather, but not only because I have a home and clothes and heat.
You put on the fire, right?
For that day, the fire will be on. Yes,
that's awesome.
Had the fire on Saturday or Sunday. Saturday, as a matter of fact. It was chilly. No. I had it on the day that we had the snow. I went home and fired up the.
Oh,
it was
nice!
Outstanding. Yeah.
That was the first snow of the season came early, and now
while we were podcasting. We'll have to see what happens while we're podcasting today.
I know. Well. Yeah, hopefully no more snow. Hopefully everybody gets home safe.
Shut your face. I love snow. Don't say that kind of stuff. Why would you say that? It's almost wintertime. Bring on the snow. If you don't want snow, no, I don't want to hear that. It is time. It is the time of snow. I don't want to hear people complaining about snow coming. You knew when you came here.
I have bad snow memories, Mike. When I was 14 years old, I got hit in the head with a toboggan. I did. I got hit in the head with the toboggan.
I wish everybody else was on mic right now because they would all in unison go, that explains so much.
It does, Mike. That's what my parents tell me. I had just sledded down a hill. I was at the bottom, and funny enough, this girl that I was interested in, who actually, it was like fourth grade.
Oh my God,
so
the metaphors are just exploding out of you right now.
And she just hit me in the head with the toboggan, and then that was it.
Boy,
yeah, it was rough.
God.
So that's a problem with me and snow.
For the love of God, talk about the next event coming up, because I can't keep the rest of the sarcasm inside.
So Sunday, December 2nd, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Divine Mercy Parish in Vineland. This is a cool event. Bishop Sullivan will be there for the Hispanic diocesan celebration of Share the Journey. And we've talked about Share the Journey. We've had trips out. The diocese has sent out to the Mexico-U.S. border in Texas. Basically, encountering, so Catholics here can encounter those needy and migrants from other countries.
I'm going to break tradition, and because we had two of the people who went down to the border with us today. If they want to talk about it a little early, Greg and Mary, we have this event coming up, and you were both there. Maybe you could talk about particularly you, Mary, talk about what Share the Journey is, and then Greg, maybe what you experienced. Go for it.
Well, Greg has been down there 3 or 4 times now. 3, and I was only down there once, so he might be a better person to speak to this. But in September of 2017, Pope Francis launched a 2-year worldwide campaign called Share the Journey, which calls all Catholics and people of goodwill to support our refugee and immigrant brothers and sisters and support them. And at Catholic Charities, we have refugee and immigration services, so it was a great opportunity for some of our staff, other diocesan staff, and other people in the diocese of all different ages, backgrounds, walks of life to go to our sister agency in McAllen, Texas, which is right 10 miles away from the border. And in McAllen, there is a humanitarian respite center that was set up by Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley, where hundreds of immigrants come there every day to receive basic aid, clothes, showers.
Yeah. And I'm curious, Greg, like you have now that you've been there 3 times, you have a pretty great perspective on it. Can you kind of explain like what you saw while you were down there?
Well, it is it's moving on 2 fronts. One is actually going to the border to where the Rio Grande River runs. So we see where the Mexico and the United States meet in the middle of the river. And at the edge of the river, you will notice where we have gone clothing, leftovers, soles of shoes, things that are left behind by those who are fleeing or seeking asylum here that they have left along the river edge. And so it's very moving going to this place of the people of the Rio Grande call it the frontera, the border, where Mexico and the United States meet. And so, like Pope Francis has asked us to put ourselves in the shoes of those who are migrants, refugees, and those who are seeking safety and life. I would say that it's a matter of life and death. And then not only the frontera, but the people that we meet, the men, women, and children who are of all ages, particularly of the young. The Share the Journey, young people are in particular those who are seeking asylum. And when I speak of young, we think of many people who are under the age of 25. Children as young as infants, months old, as all the way up to people in their 30s. Their stories, hearing their stories and seeing them seeking acceptance and just a life. It's a matter of life and death. One gentleman lifted his shirt and showed us 3 bullet holes and said, "I am on a a list of people to be killed in my hometown. If I did not leave, I would be dead. Mm-hmm. And so without judgment, we just accept people and hear their stories at the Humanitarian Respite Center. Give food, drink, a shower, a listening ear, clothing, and we just are on the front lines of being a smile and just welcome and hospitality.
Thanks, Greg. That's the Star Herald has reported on these stories for a while. We've podcasted a couple of versions of talking to people who've been down on these trips, and it's always very moving. Yeah. But I hope people will come to this event because I think you'll find it's rather impressive. Just what people have seen and sort of the truth of what is going on at the border, as opposed to what you may have heard on any broadcast, and I'm not referring to one side or another in terms of jaded responses, but you'll actually see how people are reacting to what they see down there in a very honest and open way. So how can they learn more, Pete?
Well, they can learn more. Just believe it's sponsored by the Hispanic Ministry Department. So all of this information is on camdendiocese.org. There's a calendar on the right-hand side. All this news. So click on it. Again, it's Sunday, December 2nd, Divine Mercy Parish, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., 23 West Chestnut Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. Bishop Sullivan will celebrate Mass, and there'll also be a special torch ceremony in preparation for the upcoming Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Okay. It's very exciting. It should be a good event.
All right.
And so come on out. Come out to any and all of these events.
Wow, that's the shortest news thing we've done. And we even had a little interstitial in there that was nice. And we were still at under 12 minutes. Wow, that's amazing.
Wonderful.
We should have more people on more often. This is great. Yeah. So anyway, well, like I was saying when we opened, that this is a very special podcast. This is our Thanksgiving podcast, primarily because the other one got, shot down because of my schedule. So I put out a call, and thankfully, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people responded to come on the podcast just to talk about Thanksgiving and what we are thankful for, our memories from the Thanksgiving holidays, some tidbits on cooking, some tidbits on how to put up with your crazy aunts and uncles and family members, and if you are that person, why you think that way, if any of them are seated with us today. So it's just a nice opportunity. So what I'd like to do is kind of go around the table, starting with Pete's right. And one of our often on the podcast people who laments it every time, but she's always great, and still the first person we ever podcasted with the unreleased podcast. Who's over there?
Hi, it's Mary McCusker from Catholic Charities, Diocese of Camden.
Marianne Linka, I'm the Director of Cemeteries with the Diocese of Camden.
Hi, this is Greg Coogan from Youth, Young Adult, and Campus Ministries.
And Mary Beth Peabody from the Office of Catholic Schools.
Father David Klein, Tribunal.
Maria D'Antonio, Communications Coordinator with Mike.
And I think all of these are previous podcast people, right? We don't have any newbies on this group, right? Oh, wait, no, that's right. No, that's right. I'm sorry. Marianne and I have been on radio together, but never on the podcast together. So I guess Pete, I'm going to start with you as the resident co-host here. What are there? I forget. I'm going to start with me. The thing that I've always liked about Thanksgiving is that it's one of those holidays that is difficult to usurp from its intended meaning. For instance, this is a holiday that was created specifically to give thanks to God. And while the God end of that has been muted, it hasn't been pulled away by images of Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or anything like that. Thanksgiving is still essentially what it always was. Let's come together for a meal, give thanks, be thankful, and come together as a unit, whether it's a family unit or a friends unit. I certainly know a number of friends of mine actually get together the week before Thanksgiving, and they have what they call Mocksgiving. So instead of being stuck with their families on Thanksgiving Day, which they know they have to do, they bring around people that they actually like the Saturday beforehand, and they just have a great time. So for me, of all the holidays, I think Thanksgiving may be my favorite, even though it's presentless. It also tends to have the best food. And if there's anything about a holiday and me that get along really well, it's food. And thankfully, all the people in my family are great cooks. So I've never gone anywhere and had a bad meal. So Pete, I'll ask you, what are your sort of philosophies on Thanksgiving?
A lot of what you said, Mike. I think growing up, definitely Christmas was the big holiday growing up for me. That was my favorite. Just the anticipation of Christmas morning, waking up, Santa, the music. But over the years, Thanksgiving has quietly become my favorite holiday. And I think for me, it has to be family. Growing up with a big family, I'm one of 30 cousins on my dad's side. So we have we're going to have about 25 people for dinner at my parents' house on Thursday. And the other thing over the years, not only family, but what I've liked doing over the past couple of years is cooking. So I help out, not so much with what I do make the pecan pie. So I'm excited to do that again. And whatever help is needed, sometimes I'll do the what they call congri, which is a good Spanish dish. My family is Spanish heritage, so we do black rice and beans. And the big tradition, too, also that I'm in charge of is the cheese platter. I don't know about any of you here can chime in. I love cheese, and yesterday I went out and I got we had the brie. The brie is important because the brie, what we do is we bake it in the oven, and first off, we take the brie cold, out of the refrigerator. We chop up some pecans, put them on top, apricot jelly, and I forget exactly how long you put it in the oven. It's amazing till it's melty cheese. Probably not that long. Delicious. But then along with that, there's some other cheeses that we just have straight out of the refrigerator. We have the Manchego, the smoked Gouda, the white Stilton with cranberries, which I picked up, and you always got to do it with crackers, and olives. We do some olives, maybe some stuffed olives, and we might have pomegranate seeds, and we'll probably have grapes. Oh, and Marcona almonds. So that's kind of my tradition is for my family. I love to do that kind of stuff. I love to entertain and just it's just fun. I mean,
I agree.
That's the thing, being with family and hanging out and cooking together. Family coming from Alabama, so we'll probably be doing that Thursday morning. I'm excited. As
we move along, I realize I probably should have scripted this out a little bit better. Maybe we should have for the beginning, I just want to go around and tell their reflections of Thanksgiving and their thoughts about it. And then at the end of the podcast, we'll actually go into some more of the details regarding the food and things like that. So Mary, what about you? What's Thanksgiving been meant to you as a young millennial?
Well, first of all, Pete, you had me until the olives part. And don't ask me any questions about food. As a millennial, I'm at that weird, awkward age where it's like, am I at the kids' table? Do I sit with all the rest of the adults? Do I have to bring a really good dish? Or can I still get away with picking up cupcakes from Acme? So it's family gatherings are always interesting. But it sounds cliche, but it really is nice to see the family members who you don't get to see often. We don't have a big crowd this year, but we're going to my aunt's house in Brigantine, and they have that Jersey Shore mentality. Anybody who wants to show up shows up, and it's pretty stress-free, and I get to see a lot of my cousins who I haven't seen in a long time, so it's just a good time to be together.
Excellent. Thank you. Marianne?
Well, Thanksgiving, like you, Mike, it's my favorite holiday. It is a holiday where there's not the expectation of presents. It's not, who needs what, and did I treat everyone equally, and it's just my favorite things: food and family and football. It all comes together on Thanksgiving. The fact that it's getting colder outside, I'm not a big fan of the coming snow. Like Pete said earlier, I hibernate from Thanksgiving till St. Patty's Day. But Thanksgiving to me is just a wonderful time to get together and really be grateful that, but for God's grace, we would be migrants trying to seek refuge somewhere, but we've all been born in situations where we have so much to be thankful for, and Thanksgiving is just the day that we have to sit back and recognize it. And I love the timing of Thanksgiving, that it's just before the new liturgical year and the season of Advent. We should start all prayer with Thanksgiving. So I think that just the timing in the year of Thanksgiving is just perfect, just before the liturgical year begins.
I can't help but think of se vemos en la comunión. We see each other in communion. That was one of the phrases one of my students from the University at Buffalo said to us all the time. That when we gather as Catholic Christians at Eucharist, which means Thanksgiving, that our source and summit of our life, of the Coogan family life, is rooted in God, in our belief that Jesus becomes food for us. So food is an important piece of our spiritual life, but also food is an important part of life. I think of Thanksgiving is my favorite. If you were to ask me what would your last meal on earth would be, it would be turkey and Thanksgiving and gravy and mashed potatoes. That would be my choicest meal. And I think of the many stories that the Coogan family has brought around the Thanksgiving table, of the people who have journeyed with us. So I was a campus minister at the University at Buffalo, and we would always open our home to students who did not have a home for Thanksgiving. And generally they tended to be international students. One Thanksgiving, one of the students loaded his dish with pickles, and that's what he took away from that he loved pickles. They never ate turkey before. Most of the students would be Indian or Chinese, so they would find it very interesting to have turkey. And but for my family, my parents in particular, to open their home up to folks to experience Thanksgiving for the first time, that was a special thing. This year in particular, there will be empty seats at our table, and so those who we have lost, I think I've lost a brother since last Thanksgiving, and this for us it's a time of that empty seat, and we thank God for Doug's life and his sharing with us, but that empty seat at the table is empty. And so that's a tough thing to experience, but we are grateful. And that's where our faith, for me, se vemos en communion. We'll see each other in the Eucharist.
That's right, Mary Beth. He left you with that to follow. Good job.
That's a tough one to follow. I can say I remember the first year of the empty seat, also having lost a brother not long before Thanksgiving, many years ago, but that seat is still empty. One of the things that I can be very thankful for is that I have just like the most incredible family, and people make jokes about, I got to see so-and-so. And I am one of 6, now 5 living children who have great spouses. We have 13 children among us. We have 2 new generation. And so while that seat has always remained empty, there have been so many wonderful memories and new lives to fill it. And so we are always grateful for that every year, and we do express that. We have a great tradition of standing around the table and holding hands before we start, and everybody just goes around and talks about what they are thankful for from that year. So it's a great tradition, and there are always tears because we, of course, have to remember both my parents who have gone since then as well. But overall, we've been really lucky, and Thanksgiving is absolutely hands down a McBride favorite holiday. McBride being my maiden name, and we usually spend Thanksgiving with my side. We will be at my sister's in Alexandria. Not 100% turnout this year, but still we will have a great turnout, and just really thankful for that best holiday of the year.
How about you, Father Klein?
Where to begin? What I remember most, and it's something that my both of my remaining sisters have picked up on, is my mother was a child of the Depression and grew up poor, and we were considered what the government called the working poor, and yet Thanksgiving there was always the table was filled with food. Because for my mother, the worst sin she could commit is to let anybody walk away from her table hungry. And as a result, I think she overcompensated for that by putting out enough food that could feed a small third world nation. And as I say, my generation, we subtly, that kind of was absorbed by us. You don't leave a Klein gathering without someone pushing either a bag of food or, wait, I'll get some Tupperware, take some home with you. And that's, that has very much remained a part of our, all of our family gatherings. But it always started with Thanksgiving, because then, Christmas followed, and then Easter, and, that's just the way it was. And as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate, when you're young, you don't know you're poor, because everybody on the block is in the same situation, you're in. And, we didn't seem to be functioning any differently than any other family. But as I've gotten older and I've come to appreciate, the sacrifices that my parents must have had to make sure there was that food on the table, to make sure that none of us went hungry at Thanksgiving. It was, unfortunately, I've come to appreciate my parents better after they're both gone, because I've gotten older and, realized the sacrifices that they had to make, so that we wouldn't have the same kind of childhood that they had. And, that's been a real blessing. On some level, things continue to change for me. Someone recently asked me, why are you going to celebrate, Thanksgiving Mass at your parish? And I said, because I want to hand out the bread that we give out afterward. We have baskets of special loaves of bread that have a tag on it with a prayer, from Christ the King Parish. And to me, it's important for me to stand there and hold that basket and either give people a loaf of bread or, see them take it, and to know they're at least going to have, that loaf of bread from the parish. As Greg said earlier about, that whole sense of communion and, sharing not only the Eucharistic bread, but also a very real loaf of bread. And I'll scoop up a few after I'm sure everybody else has gotten theirs, and take them when I go visit my family and friends, so that we can have something to share at our later Thanksgiving dinners. So, I think for me, Thanksgiving continues to be an evolving kind of holiday, and because I continue to evolve, I hope, I'm seeing it, differently than I saw it as a child. And both of my sisters are great cooks, so, and as I say, there'll be plenty of food, lots of desserts, so we'll all have a good time.
Thanksgiving to me, and probably to many of you, is almost like a religious holiday. How can we not be thankful without thinking of our Lord and all the blessings He has given us. So in a way, I cannot help but be religious on Thanksgiving, as many of you probably are. I try to go either to a prayer service the night before, which in our town is a non-denominational. It can be in any church in the town, or Mass on Thanksgiving Day. So I try to attend one of those and just remember that our blessings are from the Lord. And then later that day, of course, family is very important. Dinner's very important. What I'm hearing lately is a lot of people are not eating turkey. They are eating filet. They are eating capon. They are eating other things this year that I am so in tune to, which I think is fine because you know what? It brings everyone to the table. Everyone should eat what they enjoy. Personally, I do enjoy the turkey and all the fixings, but being from an Italian background, we have to add another meal along with that. Back in the day, about 20 years ago, we used to have homemade raviolis and gravy, what you call raviolis and meatballs and meat. And as we got older, we could not eat all of that. So now we just have the soup before the turkey and all the fixings, and I truly do enjoy the turkey and the mashed potatoes because I can only eat so much pasta. But the meal is important for everyone, no matter what you eat. It brings everyone to the table for hours. Many generations are sitting at the table all over the country and just talking. And how many people are on the phone? Hey, maybe for a quick Facebook picture, Snapchat photo. But many times the family is together talking, sometimes about controversial subjects, sometimes politics, religions. But is that so bad? We get to hear what our kids think. We get to hear what our parents think. A lot of memories are shared. So it's not a bad thing to have controversial and open conversations because we learn more about the people around us. So it's a good opportunity for that as well.
You know, Maria, it's so glad that I'm so glad you said that. I really am. For anyone who, Maria and I work together very closely, and I love everything that she ever has to say because I think she's reads my mind nowadays. Which makes her brilliant. Yeah, it's true because I was sitting here going, wow, everyone, I mean, it's such beautiful stories and everything like that. And then I realized, oh, yeah, it's because in our memories, remember these idyllic versions of all of these events. So I want to ask you more about now is the reality of the situation. The crazy uncle, for me, I had a pain-in-the-ass uncle who was more than happy to give me off his racial comments as I was growing up in my teen years. And I had the grandfather who kept forgetting that my dad's side of the family was Italian, and he would always make some negative Italian comments. And what he goes when he's talking about, I know many of us don't like this term, but he was referring to Dagos at this particular time. And he turns to me and goes, what do you think about that? And I go, well, you know, my dad's half Dago, so I'm going to say I'm not in agreement with you. And this was at the age of 14. And but it got me to thinking what you just said, that actually every memory I have of those early years of people saying less than charitable things, I actually got to see them evolve over time and how much better they got as they got older versus when they were my age now. So maybe, who knows, maybe I'm the racist uncle at the table now. I'm not, but maybe there's some perspective on me that I'm not aware of. But it's true, as they've gotten older and started to die off, I got to see how they changed and they evolved and they became better people because the conversations around the table were so open and honest, even if there were horrible disagreements. Now, I'm saying this as a middle-aged person. Ms. McCusker may have a different opinion as a young person who has adults in her family that drive her up a wall. But I think they're honestly good because, as you pointed out, you know these opportunities to come together are important, and they're opportunities that don't necessarily exist that much anymore in our daily lives. My wife, her and her family would go over to her grandfather's house every third Sunday. I believe it was third Sunday. Every third Sunday for dinner. I've been a part of this family for 20 years now. We haven't gone anywhere on a third Sunday for anything. And we don't host anything either, which is even more infuriating because A, I like to cook, and B, I like most of the people in my family, and I love entertaining. But I never get around to doing it because it just feels like we're always focused on something else. So these forced holidays actually mean a lot to me. Not forced holidays, but these benchmark holidays mean a lot to me. So I'm curious, taking away the idyllic perspectives you've had on your home life or your family life, I'm curious, are there elements of, the harder to appreciate parts of your family that you've come to at least accept, if not respect? What about you, Pete?
Well, I
know nothing ever goes wrong in your family, I realize. But
no, actually, funny you say that, Mike. Thanks for sharing your perspective. Families work. I mean, that's what I think about. I realize when I examine, like I said, I come from a big family on my dad's side. I'm one of 30 cousins. So Thanksgiving was not really the biggest holiday for us was Christmas, because that's when really everybody came together, 60 people. So Thanksgiving was always more close-knit, a little bit, almost 25 to 30 people. But it's kind of shifted in the past year and a half. My grandmother passed away. She was the last surviving member of her generation, the matriarch of the family, kind of the glue. And I think that's what, maybe you have some of these other experiences of people around this table of, the older generation, that the person at the top kind of sets a standard and is the glue. And since she passed away last fall, 2017, I'm not going to lie, there has been some issues with the family, I'll say, and unfortunately political issues where there are people in the family who have actively stated that they will not be in a room, they will not celebrate, they will not break bread with anybody who voted for somebody that they didn't like. And it's just, I pray for those people. And unfortunately, it's people who I'm close to. I still feel close to, even though I know they don't agree with me and they've actively argued against me. So, but I think with my grandmother passing away, in some ways it's brought the family a lot closer together. Mike, when you were talking about the third Sundays, my grandparents every Sunday did pancakes up in North Jersey. And since my grandmother passed away, we've kind of had that tradition. Every month, one of my aunts and uncles hosts, so we go to them. It's rotating, and so we get to see the family that way. I think with Thanksgiving, it's what I remember. I do remember family discussion, of course. Shouting, it's, politics seems to be a big, they say, what is it? You don't discuss politics or what is it on a first date or something? Religion, that's it. But around the dinner table, at least Thanksgiving, but it's fun too. I mean, I hate to say we're around the TV, not so much football, but James Bond marathons. And so I must have seen like Die Another Day a million times, and all the ones with Pierce Brosnan always seem to be on, not any ones with Sean Connery. So, but I love my family. I pray for them every day, even the ones who I don't see eye to eye with. And I'm just happy that I'm thankful and blessed for them and for friends too, who've joined us. Sometimes we get families. So, and Mary, what do you think?
Well, I don't know if any of my family members will be hearing this podcast, so I should be careful.
No, we don't want you to dime anybody out. Just, speaking generalizations. I know how much your mother and father love the podcast.
And I love them very much. And it's, it's not just family. It's family friends, sometimes new faces at the table. And this is actually a really touchy issue with me, and especially some of the younger people in my family. When somebody says something that you feel is unfair or unjust and objectively just wrong, at what point do you say something? At what point do you walk out? We've had situations like that before. And every year, whoever's the host of Thanksgiving gives the long speech at the beginning. Now, everybody, let's not talk about X, Y, and Z. We're here together. but all it takes is that one person to make the one comment, and then everybody jumps in and gets involved, and the dinner plates get thrown. And I think, especially in recent years, I think the rhetoric has been kind of harsher and harsher, and you definitely see the differences in opinions and values among the generations. But despite any arguments that do come up, we all hug each other goodbye, and we don't carry that resentment with us when we leave for the evening. We might, shout at each other, joke with each other, rip into each other. But we love each other. And sometimes that can be hard when your priorities and values are so drastically different from somebody else's. Of course you love them, but it is something that's challenging for me, and I know for a lot of other people. And sometimes towards the end of the night, we will put on the movie Trains, Planes, and Automobiles to calm everybody down. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but it's the best. What's it? Dramatic comedy, dramedy? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm. Plane, Trains, and Automobiles is considered a dramedy?
Absolutely.
No.
It's hilarious, and it's,
it's a comedy,
so touching.
Okay, now
the
here's
look
the thing.
on Del Griffith's face when Neil takes the train and he has nowhere to go. Spoiler alert! But oh my gosh,
you're the first
tears come streaming.
You're the first person I've ever heard think of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles as a dramedy, as opposed to just a pure comedy. However, I'm also in that small minority of people who have actually never seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is why one of the things I really have to improve on my life. I realize I'm a bad person.
No, I'm just going to say quickly to Mary, I agree with you, because that movie, John Candy gets me every time in that role. Yeah. And at the very end of the movie, it's very weird. They play a weird version of Every Time You Go Away, You Take a Piece of Me With You. It's not the original. I think that's Eric Carmen. I don't even know. But they play a weird version of that song at the very end, and it's so sentimental. It's fun. It's funny, but Mike, it does have a little bit of dramedy to it.
Oh, absolutely. And I just real quickly, with Del Griffith, you have this character who's always just laughing and cracking jokes, and he's a little not self-aware, but always has a smile on his face, always looking on the bright side. But you find out that this man has nothing, and it just kind of makes you wonder and look around, and just wonder, the people who laugh the loudest sometimes are going through the worst hardships. So it's a reminder of the less fortunate people on Thanksgiving.
Our family was never very political or religious, to be honest with you. I'm not quite sure what we were. No, let me rephrase. I do know what we were. We were dysfunctional, but that's okay, and most families I know are. Be all that as it may, the problem that we had, quite frankly, and I didn't want to be the one to put the spoiler on the first go around. A lot of our Thanksgivings were difficult because, again, we had the food and everything was fine, throughout the dinner. Then it was afterwards, again, not because of political or religious discussions, but because of alcohol. And that, unfortunately, that put the damper on probably what were a lot of wonderful celebrations, from the morning till about the mid-afternoon. And then things just started really, getting out of control. And again, not because of religious or political discussions, just because, quite frankly, we had a mean drunk as an uncle, who pretty much spoiled every holiday. Sad, but I mean that was our reality. And that's, well, I mean it is what it is. If you've ever seen the movie or the play August Osage County, there's a dinner scene in there. And unfortunately, I could identify everyone around the table, and I pretty much knew the dialogue that was going on. I could follow it completely. And it's about a dysfunctional family at a dinner gathering, and it was just so real to me. The person, when I saw it as a play, the person next to me just said, "I can't imagine any family being like that." And I said, "Dominic, every Sunday afternoon that was at dinner." But anyway, again, as I'm getting older, and that generation has passed, alcohol's not a big a problem anymore. And the past few years, Thanksgiving dinners have actually been quite nice. In the sense that they didn't get spoiled later in the day. Like, things just remained nice and peaceful. My siblings and I have discovered that we can actually laugh and enjoy each other's company without alcohol. We've had great family dinners the past few years because there hasn't been any alcohol, and we're a funny group. We're a large family. I'm one of six. 4 of us are still living, and when we get together, just telling old family stories, has the younger generations looking at us and going, "We never knew that." Well, because our family is great at keeping secrets, but
we live for that, just so you know.
Exactly.
The untold family secrets.
The untold family
we listen
secrets.
and we remember.
And it's good to see the younger ones pick up on that. And it's as I say, it's like I said earlier, Thanksgiving for us continues to evolve in a good way. Because my nieces and nephews and grandnieces and nephews don't have the experience that my brothers and sisters and I grew up with. Thank God. And it's, I think we appreciate and value each other even more.
Yeah. It's funny. You jogged my memory with the conversation about the alcohol. When I was growing up, my family, I'm a mutt. I'm from all over the place, and but alcohol was the one constant in all of the events, and because of that, and there was always there were at least 3 dinners every single holiday, or at least a lunch and 2 dinners or something like that. So we were always going around to a bunch of different houses, and every house had a lot of alcohol. And what I found was that when I reached of age or earlier, I made the conscious decision to not drink at family events because I had seen how it loosened everybody's tongues. Now, I enjoy drinking with the best of them, but I have never touched a drop of any alcohol at any family event, even in my elderly 46 years old now, simply because I'd like to be in a little bit of control, and I can say enough mean things in a sober state that I don't need alcohol to help me along at all. So that's actually my one little recommendation to people is if you find that you have the same diuretic effect of your mouth that I do, you may want to consider not drinking at these events and just stay sober, and then go home and drink alone like I do. No, just kidding. No. Save it when you're out with friends, with people who won't be offended by what you say. Well, about you, Marianne?
It's the behavior that alcohol brings on. That my son-in-law, when he first met my family, my daughter brought him to a family gathering, and I have 4 brothers, and my son-in-law coined the phrase "drunkle" because there was alcohol involved, and the more alcohol involved, the more outspoken people became, and the less respect they showed to other people and their opinions. And I think it's great, Maria, the point you made about people being able to share their opinions, but it's very important that everyone respects each other's opinions so that you can have open conversations. That doesn't happen everywhere. It doesn't happen in every family, and that causes a lot of problems, especially when alcohol is involved. But going back, I'm one of 7, so we always had very large gatherings growing up. My mother, she was a okay cook, But, my father always said he taught her to cook because my father owned a diner when he was younger, and my mother came from a Scottish family that they didn't know how to cook. So my mother learned from my father, and she was an okay cook, but she was able to cook in great volumes and stretch $1. So it was wonderful. And we didn't have a lot of money, but she could put food on the table. It was amazing. Thanksgiving growing up was just always a beautiful gathering. We didn't have other family in the area, so it was just the 7 of us, our parents and our grandparents. Cousins were far away. But evolution, and it's kind of bittersweet as time has gone on. My father's passed 27 years ago, so I'm sorry, my mother passed 27 years ago, so I took over the cooking, and I took over having everybody at my house. We had beautiful gatherings at my house. My father would come. As long as my father was alive, everyone would come and we would get together. And then some of the family kind of went off as they became grandparents and had other. This year, for the very first time, none of my siblings will be there for Thanksgiving because everyone has grandchildren and in-laws and everything. But the evolution is beautiful because this Thanksgiving, for the 4th year in a row, my son-in-law's family will be joining us. And for the first time this year, my grandson, I have a 6-month-old grandson, so my grandson will be there. So the evolution over time, the crowd has changed. It's become, you miss the people in the empty seats. People have passed on. But you just become so grateful for the people who step up and join you. And, it'll be a small gathering, but beautiful. And I really look forward to it.
That's great. One of the things I wanted to talk about, we've hit on a couple of times, and as we're starting to get to the close of the podcast, I want to make sure we leave some time for it. Is the food of Thanksgiving, and I am a big proponent of food. So I'm curious if any of us have particular recipes or anything they like, and I will start with mine. I've always been a traditionalist. I don't like that. I like the same. As a matter of fact, we would harass my aunt anytime she would bring change to the Thanksgiving table. Like, I can't even think of any of it because we harassed her so much she never did it again. But the rolls always had to be the exact same. It had to be the exact same mashed potatoes, the exact same vegetables, everything had to be the same. However, when we started hosting events, I decided to change one thing because of my grandfather. He had taken up frying turkeys, and so I added the frying turkey, and I have the outdoor gas-powered fryer. But last year, on a whim, we bought an electric turkey fryer. I got to tell you, it's excellent. Bought it off of QVC. I recommend it. I think it's a KitchenAid. I brine my turkeys. I put together a brine of salt, brown sugar, allspice, candied ginger, and peppercorns. I brine it for about 2 days in a bucket. I start it when the turkey's still frozen. So it actually thaws while it's brining, and then pat it dry. You got to make sure they're dry, or else it causes a spillover. And then the electric fryers are nice because you can't burn down your house, and you can do it inside, and you won't burn down your house. So we did that earlier this year, and it was fantastic. And I got to tell you, it is the juiciest, crispiest, most delicious turkey you will ever have in your entire life. So, going around the table, we don't have to do an order. Whoever picks up a microphone fast enough. What are some of your quality meals?
We also have the fried turkey thing going. My brother-in-law bought a fryer a few years back. It has been quite the hit. But we have 13 nieces and nephew folks that range in age from 21 to 37. You got your paleos, you got your vegans, you got your vegetarians, you've got it all. And so it has become quite the spread, and quite, how many variations on sweet potatoes to meet everybody's needs. So one year there was a tofurkey. That did not go over well. So that has been eliminated, and the vegan and vegetarian crowd just stick with the sides. So that's but it is quite a smorgasbord. My contribution is the apple pie that is the favorite. Crumb topping, not flaky crust. Got to have the the flour and butter and cinnamon sugar topping. So that's about all I got to say about food.
Well, food is something that the Coogan household likes very much. And so I brought 2 recipes that are staples to our Thanksgiving and more. holidays. One is my Aunt Terry's and my mom's broccoli souffle. It's not really souffle. It's more like a casserole that has chopped broccoli, cheese whiz, stick of butter, chopped onions, celery, cream of mushroom soup, golden mushroom soup, rice, and slivered onions. Boy, and we never go without it. It is very not healthy, but and on the top of that are crushed Ritz crackers with pats of butter, and you cook it for about 45 minutes to about an hour and a half or so at 350 in the oven. It is phenomenal. And then, as I would say, at one point in my life, hors d'oeuvres or hors d'oeuvres are just little party breads with chopped olives, cheddar cheese, minced onions, Miracle Whip dressing mixed together. You put it on and put some Bacos on top. Make it, toast them up, and that's just so. I for the longest time I called them little pizzas, but they're not pizzas. It's just taste of home stuff. Two other stories about food. One is on how to cook a turkey. So when our families are such a gift from God. We don't get to choose them; they choose us, or God, chosen for us. So when Angela came into my family, there was sort of a passing on of how to make the turkey, and she brought this beautiful tradition of cooking it in a turkey bag, of which set my mother and my sister off. It was like a world war. And then we had the debate of whether or not there should be stuffing in the turkey or not. And so one year, my wife decided not to stuff the turkey because she didn't believe that. And so that upset my sister and my mother. And here I am. So my parents lived 2 doors down from my sister. My sister made a separate turkey that was stuffed so that they would have stuffing that was the real stuffing. My gosh. Of course, I never told my wife until years after. But what doesn't go... what goes into the meal and the politic and the taste buds that go in the preparation. There's a whole politic or family. They're all gifts from God.
I had no idea that people argued so much about food. We kind of just eat whatever, but... Wow, that's a surprise.
Oh, there's a lot of truth there. I mean, it really...
This is eye-opening.
Even today, I'm pretty sure my wife holds a grudge against my sister because she made that stuffing in the turkey.
I wanted to say we did away with the raviolis. However, as a first course, my daughter and I started a tradition a few years back. She's college age now. We make the Italian wedding soup. So she will come home tomorrow night from college. I wait for her, and we put together the soup. That's our tradition and that's our Italian contribution to the turkey Thanksgiving dinner, which is lighter and everyone seems to enjoy. Now, I want to mention the alcohol. Alcohol flows in our family because we have winemakers. My husband and my sons, and started with my father-in-law, make homemade wine. Now, everyone so far has been respectful of it, so far so good, but we do, wine is very important with our meal, and it's talked about, and the arguments flow about who's making the best wine this year, because now, of course, my husband perfected his father's recipe, and now my sons are trying to perfect my husband's recipes. So we have that going on. So all fun arguments, hopefully, we'll keep it that way.
That'd be great. Any other important recipes that we have?
Mine is very boring. I try to mix it up every year, with a different casserole. Like we would try a broccoli casserole, green bean casserole. But if I don't serve peas and corns and mashed potatoes so my daughters can mix it up and pour gravy on it, I'm in big trouble. That is
I'm on their side. I just want you to know.
The one year I forgot to make the corn, no, it was peas I didn't make. I actually had to go get peas out of the freezer and make them at the last minute because it was crazy. And then there's always this sweet potato, white potato debate, but I make both now, so there is no debate any longer. And I do have a vegetarian in the family, so I have to make 2 sets of stuffing and 2 sets of gravy. So
I don't cook. My specialty is to eat and observe and comment. And again, from my mother, my 2 remaining sisters are both excellent cooks. My younger sister especially is an excellent baker. So a couple years ago, she said, I'm trying something new. I'm going, okay. Said I only had like 5 ingredients. She goes onto Pinterest, types in like 5 ingredients, comes up with a recipe of baked apples in like croissant roll things and with like 7-Up.
Yeah. That good.
We all took one bite and went, oh my God. So that has now become a new part of the Thanksgiving tradition. I mean, to me, the turkey and the stuffing, it's okay. I don't eat a whole lot of that because I'm saving room for dessert.
Yeah. I'm a baker by trade, and that's the only time I don't bake because I am a terrible pie maker. I love pies, except for blueberry. I love all pies, and only because I'm allergic to blueberry. But yeah, and there's no sense making a cake because you don't have cakes. That's insane. Of course, who would do a cake like that? But that it was funny though. My wife is not a pie eater, so we're hosting Thanksgiving this year, one of the Thanksgiving meals, and my mother's going to bring the pies, and I said, 1 apple, 1 pumpkin, and Jennifer goes, and some cookies for those of us who don't eat pies. And I'm like, okay, that's fair, but I'm not doing a cake. But what about you, Pete? Any special foods from your Thanksgiving days?
Well, dessert, I make the pecan pie, which I love making. It's a whole lot of Karo syrup and pecans, which I love. I put pecans on everything. Oatmeal, it's just delicious. But the one that, the dessert that I think about as well that I make is, I guess if anybody here has heard of ambrosia salad, there's a thing that I make called pink salad, which does not have the marshmallows. It's with cherry pie filling. It is canned pineapple. It is condensed milk. It is a shot of lemon juice and Cool Whip. And you mix it all together, and you just put it in the refrigerator, and it's delicious. It's a nice compliment. It's a cool dessert. Like sometimes pumpkin pie, sometimes pies can be a little, like the mouthfeel. Sometimes that's does anybody know that term?
I understand mouthfeel, but I've never heard anyone criticize a pumpkin pie for mouthfeel.
Well, a pie, like sometimes with the bread or something with your palate. I don't know.
No.
It's a nice, cool. The pink salad is good to like cool it down. I think.
You clearly have never had my apple pie.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Oh no.
And I just need to give a shout out to my youngest son who came home from college and said, "So, do you need me to peel the apples?" And I left him 30 apples today to peel on his day off. So shout out to Ryan for peeling. And one more movie. Thanksgiving is not complete without Home Alone. My nearly 22 and 25-year-old sons still watch Home Alone every year at Thanksgiving.
I'm sorry, the turkey goes in the oven and It's a Wonderful Life goes on the TV. Yes. That's my movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yes, for we're a football family, so it's just football games on the TV. But let's see, no. The day starts with, if I'm not playing a pickup football game beforehand, which I think I finally reached that age where if I play one more pickup game, I'll just break in half. It starts with the Macy's Day Parade. where for breakfast we just have cinnamon buns from that you get out of the little tin, and then because you don't never eat a big Thanksgiving Day breakfast, because in the old days I had 3 meals to get through. I'm down to 2 meals now, but I still got to get through them, and a lot of dessert. So I just save all my carbs for 4 o'clock on, and then I just go to town. And also I do no dieting during Thanksgiving or Christmas. It's like I don't care what Weight Watchers program I'm on. They go to bed that day.
See, wait, I got a question. You said 4 o'clock. My family's like 4:35. What is this table like?
Dinner.
What is it?
Like
Dinner?
6:30.
Now, see,
Really?
ours was growing up. That was because we had 3 meals to go to. We had a 2 o'clock. We had a 12:30 to 1 o'clock meal at my aunt's house. We had a 4 to 5 o'clock meal at my grandmother's house, and then there was an evening, either late meal or dessert at the other side of the family's house. There were not amongst my parents, but above them there were a couple of divorces in the family that required us to go to multiple homes. So that's why and because of that, we've sort of stuck on this 4 o'clock thing for dinners.
We're 1 to 2 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we have our big meal. Usually, if anybody's going to gather, we're going to gather for like that 1, 2 o'clock, start time. And then that frees us up. I go visit my best friend and his family, and then others go to like their in-laws and their families. But even as a child, we always had ours shortly after noontime, and it was a huge meal. But then what we would do is like later in the day, we would just pick at the leftovers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
We always leave the leftovers till the last.
And actually, that was what I was going to say. My last bit before we close up, but and anybody else can add things as well. But the last thing I was going to say was the leftover is the most important part of Thanksgiving, and there are 2 of them. And one is desserts become breakfast for the rest of the week. The leftover turkey, my wife makes incredible turkey croquettes, which are just
that recipe.
Oh man, I tell you, I get annoyed if we don't have leftover turkey, because then the turkey croquettes don't come. So like she was like, well, Mike, we're only gonna have this many people, so we only need to get a bird this size. No, we need to get a bigger bird because there has to be croquettes. And then finally, this is not something I've ever made in my house, but I've eaten it now in a couple of different restaurants. The most notable of which I think is Havana's restaurant in New Hope, PA. I ate the Thanksgiving Day sandwich. It is basically a really good roll, usually an Amoroso, filled with not cold cut turkey, but sliced turkey, cranberry sauce, and stuffing / dressing in a sub roll. That sandwich is the one I had at Havana. I've had it elsewhere, but that's the best one I've ever had. That is the best sandwich I've ever eaten in my entire life. And it really does taste like you're eating an entire Thanksgiving meal at once. It's unbelievable. So I highly recommend. I think it's Havana in the Havana restaurant in New Hope. I strongly encourage it. Good fries too. All right. Any other leftover suggestions?
No. Welcome to Talking Carbs, everyone.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly. Pete's been dying for this, where we could just talk about food. But anyway, we are going to wrap up. So unless anyone has a couple of last-minute thoughts, I thank you very much for sitting with us and joining us for our emergency podcast today. And I hope our listeners appreciated the things we talked about today. I do want to let everyone do a couple of plugs, though, because we didn't get to plug everybody beforehand. So, McCusker, would you like to talk about anything coming up with Catholic Charities that people should be aware of? Certainly Giving Tuesday next Tuesday.
Yep, Giving Tuesday is coming up, so you can check our social media. We're on Facebook at Catholic Charities, Diocese of Camden. We're on Twitter, and you can check there for updates about how to donate. Every penny goes towards the most vulnerable people in South Jersey, the homeless, veterans, refugees, those struggling with mental health issues, and we serve 34,000 people annually, so any donation, big or small, is very much appreciated.
Well, representing South Jersey Catholic Cemeteries, I just want to ask everyone to remember all of those buried in our cemeteries and all those souls in purgatory. November is is the month that we remember those people. And the people, the empty seats at the table, they represent real people who still need our prayers, and we should be asking them to pray for us. Another plug, though, the Parish Nurse Ministry does a wonderful Having the Talk program. The next one that I'm aware of is coming up January 19th at St. Simon's Stock in Berlin. We join them to talk about some of those final arrangements, because making those arrangements really is a gift to your family. So your family's not sitting there later saying, I don't know what they would have wanted. It really is a gift. So try to go to one of the Having the Talk seminars that run throughout the diocese throughout the year.
South Jersey Catholic Schools. We have 28 elementary schools, 6 diocesan high schools, and there are also 3 private Catholic high schools in the diocese. Advent is a really beautiful time to drop in at any of the schools, and that will all be kicking off right after Thanksgiving. Prayer services, many of our schools do wonderful service work during Advent and really stay closely connected with their parishes too. So whether you're at Mass and want to check out your school that way, or you can go online and look at South Jersey Catholic Schools on the diocesan website. We're always encouraging and inviting people to come and be part of a wonderful opportunity for education and spiritual growth.
The Tribunal is a year-round function. We don't have a slow time. I wish we did. However, the Catholic schools reminded me, if you're in an irregular marriage and your child is coming up to receive First Communion, you need to call us like 2 months ago, 856-583-6162. We'll help do what we can to help you get your marriage situated so you can receive the sacraments with your children and not have them wonder why mommy and daddy can't.
Can I just plug the communications department and just say...
Most assuredly. Thank you.
Yeah. For all of you, we appreciate your readership of the Catholic Star Herald. Please keep reading the Catholic Star Herald, listening to the Talking Catholic podcast, and please follow us on all our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Thank God Maria's here, because I forget to do that every single podcast. Thank you very much, Maria. We appreciate that. And Pete, I think this was a very good emergency Thanksgiving podcast. Did we do okay today?
I think we did great. Everybody was wonderful. I'm hungry. I know. I didn't have lunch. I'm starving. I think next year we should bring you all back, and you know what we should do? Have people bring dishes, and then we can just go around sampling on the show.
All right. I like that idea. I'm not sure the listeners will. The one complaint we get from listeners is eating while podcasting. Nobody likes to hear us chew.
Well, Greg Coogan had to leave those little hors d'oeuvres they talked about. Maybe those will be small enough and quick enough.
Yeah. Well, maybe if we announce it beforehand, then the metaphobes won't be afraid of listening to
metaphobes.
Metaphobes are people who have a difficult time. Well, I'm not going to get into it. Look it up, everybody. But anyway, thank you.
Calls or concerns, call Mike Walsh at
yes. So thank you very much for listening. We hope you all have a great Thanksgiving, a very happy Thanksgiving, and a wonderful few days with your family, we hope, particularly safe travels for those of you who are traveling to and from. And we will listen to you all over here. We will be talking next week. I don't know who we're talking to next week. Did we decide who we're talking to next week? Oh, we're still trying to nail down who we're talking to next week, aren't we? Yeah, okay. So hopefully we'll have somebody on the podcast next week. I'd hate to have to do 2 emergency calls in a row.
We will. God will provide.
He always does. That's right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great holiday.